Well, back here from thehannibaltv.com with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. So let me jump right into it. The big news of the week is, of course, John Laurinaitis, aka Johnny Ace, 61 years old, former pro wrestler, younger brother of Road Warrior Annibal, who was a friend of mine, former All Japan star, WCW producer, head of WWE Talent Relations, WWE executive, father-in-law of Bryan Danielson, father-in-law, or sorry, he's related to Bryan Danielson, father-in-law of Nikki and Brie Bella, aka Nikki and Brie Garcia, has been on Total Divas, Total Bellas, other WWE shows. He was originally taking Janelle Grant's side, but he hadn't filed anything formally in that direction. Now it appears he is on Vince McMahon's side in this Janelle Grant lawsuit, according to Laurinaitis' lawyer, Edward Brennan. He released a statement um, earlier in February saying that Ace was also a victim of McMahon, but now he's saying that no sexual abuse or coercion took place, which hurts Grant's argument. And there's a lot of very valid points against what Janelle Grant has been saying. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in either arbitration or court. Johnny Ace, uh, according to the settlement, it's supposed to play out in arbitration. So by Janelle Grant taking it to court, it's actually against the terms of the settlement. So we'll see what ends up happening, what the judge will rule, whether it ends up going to arbitration or court. But it's not good for Grant's side that Laurinaitis has uh, has taken Vince's side. And there's a lot of weird stuff about Grant. One of the main weird things is there's only two pictures of her on the internet, both when she was young. There's no pictures of her in her 40s, which she's in now, on the internet. So they're trying to really paint her as this innocent young woman, which, again, the truth is going to come out in court. They also tried to paint her that she was destitute, living in an apartment that used to be one of Trump Towers, and now it's called the Park Tower. Each apartment building worth millions, and they also left out that she was apparently living with a very rich lawyer at the time all this was happening. But we'll let that play out in court. The WWE's first pay-per-view since WrestleMania this weekend at the 16,000 seat LDLC Arena in Lyon, France. They're also doing SmackDown there tonight. They have 12,341 tickets out for SmackDown tonight and 12,621 out for Backlash. We It's surprising that those didn't sell out immediately, and they're gonna call it they're just gonna make the setup smaller and call it a sellout for whatever number they get. But you have to think that this Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles match is not a good draw. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, Levesque, Triple H, made the decision to not go in the direction of a hot challenger who's really over, and instead go with someone who's going to provide a good match. And he also says this is historically not how WWE does business, but now they don't have to go by how many pay-per-view buys they are because they all air on Peacock. Meltzer also brings up a very good point that other than The Rock and Roman Reigns, there's no real viable challengers for Rhodes' title other than Randy Orton, who, in my opinion, is not. No one thinks Randy Orton would even beat Rhodes for the title. He might be the best person other than The Rock and Reigns to take it. However, they haven't gone in that direction at all at this point, or to make the fans believe there might be a chance of him taking it. I don't. The Rock has already said he wants to. He's alluded he wants to face Cody Rhodes at next year's WrestleMania. My only question is if ratings go down and interest goes down with having no viable Opponents for Rhodes in between, are they gonna keep the title on him? I really don't know. I've heard rumblings that The Rock might fight Rhodes at the next WrestleMania, then Reigns at the following one. Netflix is going to do a movie about the life of Ronda Rousey based on her autobiographies. Somebody named Scritch pay-per-view buys. So not many people are still buying them on pay-per-view. Um, Everyone's watching it on the forums of the network and Peacock, where I think it's cheaper to have Peacock for the year than to buy one WrestleMania on pay-per-view. Of course, we don't get it here in Canada, but once it switches over to Netflix, it'll be a lot easier for people like me to watch because the WWE Network here in Canada friggin' sucks. I had it for about 3 or 4 months. It's brutal. It's nothing like the American version. WWE had their biggest house show of the year, the O2 Arena, April 19th in London. 16,342 fans. May 1st, they were in Bologna, Italy. Drew 11,900 fans, sold out immediately. Which again, I'm shocked that like France didn't sell out when they're getting these kind of numbers for house shows in places like Italy and London, definitely one of their top markets. I could see WrestleMania going to London soon, which by the way, apparently Vegas is the front runner for next year's WrestleMania. Minneapolis second, but it's looking more on the Vegas side. They also went to Vienna, Austria, which is their first sellout in Vienna since 2008. They had 9,000 fans. SmackDown in Cincinnati last Friday, 12,921 fans. Raw in Kansas City this Monday, 10,098 fans. In AEW news, many think Tony Khan is signing all these wrestlers and hardly using them. There's so many what I like to call lost wrestlers in AEW that he does absolutely nothing with. Even Tom Pritchard, who's a very neutral guy, said on his podcast this week that like, what's the point of signing Paige? They've done nothing with Paige. I don't know how much they paid her, but like they don't even use her. And it's funny because they have such bad crowds and they don't put like Paige on the poster. She's a recognizable face. It could give anybody a headache thinking about this booking of Tony Khan. Like, they got Ric Flair under contract. They've used him a handful of times at most and never advertised him at any of the times they've used him, other than for Sting's last match, which is crazy because he's one of the biggest draws in wrestling. Uh, Apparently, most people feel that Tony Khan's indie quote unquote chat room booking mindset is catering to small audiences rather than the mainstream public. Morale is low among wrestlers. A lot of members of the roster are frustrated. Public opinion of Tony Khan is an unlikable, spoiled rich kid. He's constantly taking shots at WWE. AEW's deal with DAZN, which was streaming in 42 countries in Europe and Africa, was canceled by DAZN at the end of the year very quietly. They did have a 3-year deal, which DAZN cut short due to underperformance, is what they said. They cut it. So they didn't perform well enough to keep it. It aired Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, along with some pay-per-views. Mercedes Moné for her debut in Boston. It has come out that they comped 2,383 tickets, which is a lot of tickets to comp. Again, they're at the Boston thing, supposed to be Mercedes Moné's big debut. They had to comp over 2,000 tickets. Ethan Page, who pretty much did nothing memorable in AEW and wasn't being used much. Um, was taken off the AEW's roster page. Powerhouse Hobbs suffered a right knee injury April 24th in his match with John Moxley. I think he's going to need surgery. AEW has signed Camille from the NWA. She's 31 years old, former NWA champion, as if they need more people on their roster. April 27th, AEW Collision, Rampage, and Ring of Honor tapings from Jacksonville, where it was free for any member of the military to go watch. Had 2,386 tickets. The May 1st AEW Dynamite and Rampage in Winnipeg had about 4,000 tickets out. Last time they came to Winnipeg, they had 7,500 tickets. It only did a 0.24 rating. In other wrestling news, the biggest attended event in Japan last week was Stardom, which had 2,735 fans, which goes to show you uh, wrestling is not that big in Japan right now. Billy Corgan's reality show, Adventures in Carneyland, will air on the CW app later this month. Again, he was originally saying, I actually like Billy Corgan, but I don't know why he made the big deal about NWA signing with a quote unquote major TV network and like making everyone think they're going to get a TV deal, then only ending up on the app, which it seems like since they've gone on the app, the buzz, if there was any buzz about NWA since being on the app, it's gone. Ethan Pitt, or I don't know what the hell his name is. Um, Ethan Carter the third, EC3. I think honestly, Trevor Murdoch didn't have much buzz as champion. Zack Ryder didn't have much buzz as champion. Ethan Carter doesn't have much buzz as champion. All this, and Tyrus. As much as people hated Tyrus, they were always talking about him as NWA champion, and he had the belt on that show he's on Fox. So it's like, complain all you want about Tyrus as champion. There was more people watching NWA at that time and more buzz about it. And I wish them luck. I have nothing against them. I like Billy Corgan. I just think that um, all the buzz about the app, not everybody has this app where would they, who knows what they're being paid? Maybe they're getting money. They're probably getting money for all these shows. So that in that way, maybe it's worth it, but less it definitely seems like less people are watching because for instance this is the news about NWA this week. Corgan's reality show is going to be on the app. Like, you don't hear anything about the in-ring of NWA anymore. Francis Ngannou's 18-month-old son died for unknown reason in MMA news. Conor McGregor is now part owner of the BKFC, and Conor is supposed to be fighting later this summer for the UFC against Michael Chandler. Grandma Daisy Housepiper, she's doing great. I got a picture of her last night. I'll be seeing her again soon. I'll put the picture up in a second here. We have I love when the hate Cody is lame. I will agree with that. Cody is definitely a very lame wrestler. And I was just watching a recent interview with Cody, by the way. He sucks up to absolutely everybody in his interviews. It's just he just seems like a big suck up. So he is a good politician, but he's very boring and plain. And I'm not saying people don't like him, but he's not my taste. Grandma Daisy, there's Piper last night sleeping. Cute, adorable dog. Let's get into the rest of your comments. Good morning to Humble85. Yes, I will ask Paul Roma about that when I see him. in Napanee, Ontario, June the 29th when he comes for Great North Wrestling. Anyone that doesn't know about that, tickets are on sale now at ticketweb.ca. Mario Mancini, Rene Dupree, Paul Roma are going to be there along with Angel Medina. Tickets are very reasonable priced and available at ticketweb.ca. Someone says if Vince Russo graded matches with stars like Meltzer, whose opinion matters more? I like both of their opinions, to be honest. I don't care. I don't have the same wrestling taste as Meltzer. I really don't. I find guys like Will Ospreay boring. I find like leg slapping and flips and acrobatics in matches boring. I like my favorite wrestlers are like the Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan. They sure none of them did any flips. I understand people that like them. He's entitled to his opinion of what he wants to rate matches. He does have a lot of contacts and has a lot of good information. And the time that I met him and interviewed him, he seemed like a really nice guy. I never had any issues with him. I like him. Vince Russo, I also like. Do I have the same taste in wrestling as Vince Russo? I don't have the same taste in wrestling as Vince Russo either. We do agree more that wrestlers should look like wrestlers. I know that. But again, he did great in the Attitude Era. I really did not like his booking of WCW. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I did not like it at all. And I did not watch TNA really when he was booking it, although he was booking it during the most viewed period of TNA. So do I think his Vince Russo has good opinions? Like for instance, he was talking the other week on a podcast on this channel that why when wrestlers like MJF are injured now do they just never appear on TV? So people forget about them when they're injured because like if you have a shoulder injury, you can still do promos and stuff. When Steve Austin had his broken neck, he was still being used on TV. And now like a wrestler can get even a minor injury and they'll take him off TV for months. I agree with him on opinions like that. I agree with him that he says Tony Khan collects wrestlers. He doesn't care about making money because he's the son of a multi-billionaire, and this multi-billionaire probably needs tax write-offs. Nick, whatever Chad Khan needs tax write-offs. For anyone that thinks AEW is going to go out of business, CM Punk said it. It'll be around as long as the Khans want it to be around because it's a tax write-off to them. They're billionaires. Grandma Daisy wants to give Vince Russo a Ghetto Blaster. Well, maybe Jack Kilby should arrange that match. Who else is glad that McMahon's out? I personally hope McMahon starts a new league. I really do. Well, there are lots of wrestlers in WWE on testosterone replacement therapy, which is legal steroids, and AEW, from all I know, although I think it's similar to WCW, they could actually test for stuff, but from my understanding, they don't. So if you actually look at a lot of the guys, and I guess I won't name names, but it's very obvious there's a lot of and again for the part-time guys in WWE, they don't have the same clauses in the contract. I don't think there's that much emphasis on being lean in wrestling anymore. I liked Davey Boy Smith as well, the regular overlord, and I did meet him my Matt Rats days. Cody has Lex Express vibes. Someone says I real I think you may have made some spelling errors in that one. I don't really understand. Virgil, I haven't wrestled in like I am wrestling June 29th in Napanee and I am gonna wrestle again. This is like my 25th day in a row without no days off training at the gym. I'm I'm recovering, going through some hell physically and emotionally past 2 years, and I am going to give wrestling another shot. I think I might be too controversial for those leagues, even though I would say I'd be in the top 30% of wrestlers for sure if I was in those leagues as far as ability, look, and look. And if I was one of the lost AEW wrestlers, I would be using that AEW money to promote more Great North Wrestling events and make myself more popular on my own. I wouldn't just be sitting around at home, and I'd be doing crazy interviews. Um, but yeah, no, I wouldn't count on ever going there, but I would love one of those. I think AEW pays a minimum 150 American a year. I mean, to get that to wrestle a handful of times, who would not want that? Or Jake the Snake just re-signed recently. They haven't even used him in months. How great are one of those contracts? So again, I wouldn't expect that, but I am going to be back in wrestling, from doing it for myself. And I'm sure I'm going to be wrestling more over the next few years. XPW already out. XPW is crap. The needle through the private area thing is one of the most disgusting things I've sadly ever saw. They need a Jerry Springer type promotion, Sean. If McMahon would go that route, who knows? But I don't think McMahon would go like the controversial ECW route, but a promotion needs to be there with money that is like different and maybe uses more controversial people because WWE and AEW are very corporate. Thank you, Humble 85. Yes, I am more believable. Honestly, think I'm one of the most believable wrestlers in wrestling. And if that's something that wrestling is missing, and there's a lot of pussies out there that don't like doing my style, but I do think that, for instance, John Moxley and I would have very good matches. Um, there's a lot of people I could have good matches with, Samoa Joe and I as well. I think I would actually be better as far as I think I would be better as I'm sure Tony Khan hates me for giving my opinion, and I don't actually hate him as a person. I just don't agree with his booking. But I think I would have good matches with a lot of people in AEW. WWE, I'd be lost in the shuffle, but I don't wouldn't expect either one of those to happen. Sucker punches is a good move. I think Ryback is a dork, a loser. I have no respect for him. No respect for him at all. Like just because of a message he randomly sent me. He sent me a message once to tell me he was blocking me. Who does that? I've not like I'm messaging you to tell you I'm blocking you randomly. What kind of like dork does that? Thank you. Thank you, Virgil. And honestly, I've paid more dues than anybody in wrestling. If anyone has watched my Hannibal Memories draft book series, I've paid probably more dues than anyone and never made actually any money in wrestling. That's why I can't help but be a little bitter when I see these people getting signed these days that are almost fresh out of wrestling school or have no experience at all. They get signed to contracts right away when I've been paying my dues as a wrestler and promoter and now reporter and interviewer for years. But it's not going to happen, and I'm happy enough doing this. As I recover from a couple bad years over the next few years, I know my YouTube channel is going to grow more and more. And as I get back into the ring, GNW is going to grow more and more as well. Why would I feel a kingship with OJ? I actually don't know much about OJ Simpson, other than what everyone else does, because I'm not a football fan. I saw him in a bunch of movies. I tried to watch an interview with him. He just seems he would have made a good wrestler because he's a great worker. Anyways, please give this video a thumbs up.